So, on to game 3. Mac is starting against one of the guys we've been following all tournament, Mac Light, into the top 8. So we get to see Tron going first against Control, which, you know, is what it wants to do. It really wants to sneak something out before Control sort of gets its shields up.
Yep. Matt putting his landing on tap and making Pithing Needle for turn 1. I'd say that's probably on card. Would be my guess. And Mac is going to crack the Chromatic Star. Funnily enough, you don't get to respond to that one. To Chromatic Sphere. You do get to respond to Chromatic Star, but not to Chromatic Sphere. And Ancient Stirrings. So let's see if Mac has the... Oh, don't do that, Mac. Yeah, do not bring the two... yeah, don't bring the two of them together. If you have your hand and the cards you are looking at, always make sure that they are kept well away from each other. And again, it's not the case that, you know, anyone who does it is cheating. It's just that the way that it can be...
Well, technically it is. It's called...
Yeah.
Drawing extra cards when the two collections of cards touch each other.
Yeah.
That's when a judge has to
make a decision.
No, he has to give that ruling. You know, that's why you have to keep the two piles of cards separate. So, you know, as soon as it becomes one pile, even for a brief moment, you know, it's considered part of your hand at that point.
Yep.
And because there's no way of actually being able to split the two piles of cards back up, in other words, you know, it's pretty easy for anyone skilled in sleight of hand to actually swap over two cards from two separate sort of piles, one being held in each hand.
Yeah. Mac's natural Tronning again, and Mac
this is the start. You know, Mac wants
5 mana Batter Skull, so Mac can't mana leak that because of the full Tron, so...
Yeah, that's a very good drop at this point in the game.
Yeah. And Matt's also suffering a bit on his land because he's only got one source of blue, so he's two blue mana away from Cryptic Command here. And given that Matt's main route to victory is actually to burn Mac out, it seems like Batterskull's going to make a big difference here. Matt's going to Vendilion Click himself there, getting rid of a useless card. And in for 3. Stony Silence from Matt, so at least Matt can't pick up that Batterskull.
All he has to do now is deal with the token.
Yep, Karn is locked out, and so is
Oblivion Stone.
Oblivion Stone. So the only thing that matters now for Mac is going to be, you know, Wormcoil Engine and I suppose Eye of Ugin.
Big monsters. Big monsters is the way to go at this point.
Yep. Three mana. Pyroclasm killing the Vendilion Click. It's all going Mac's way here at this point. Yeah, not a permanent effect, Matt.
Doesn't really change too much. Matt's position in this game is he's just trying to lock out his opponent.
Yep.
Rather than trying to kill him, so to speak. Sounds a bit silly to say that, but...
And Mac makes Oblivion Stone here, so... which does precisely nothing, but... I don't know, maybe Mac has access to Nature's Claim or something like that to take out the Stony Silence.
I'm not sure he'd think to bring a card like that in, though.
Maybe, but... I mean, laying the stone out there doesn't really make much sense if you don't have a way to deal with it. Batterskull coming in again.
And it's such a hefty life swing, Batterskull.
Yeah, 8-point life swing every time it just attacks. Another Oblivion Stone from Mac. Mac's like, check out all of these things which don't actually do anything in my hand. Interesting move from Matt there. He's laid his 4th land and taking two off it, despite the fact that it doesn't really make a huge difference. He's able to cast Vendilion Click, I suppose, off that, but obviously Cryptic Command's going to be the major card that he wants to represent, even though he can't cast it. And yeah, Max just made a huge error there with that Ghost Quarter. I think it's the misassignment, really, of what that Ghost Quarter's in the deck for. Because like, if Mac just leaves that Ghost Quarter there...
What Mac's thinking is that Matt wants his other colours, and what Matt actually wants is 3 blue.
Yeah.
You know, from a logical standpoint, you know, his logic is, well, he's got blue, so let's stop him from getting the other colours.
I mean, the one thing he's seen Supreme Verdict. Judge, you can't do that. Yep. It's like, he's seen Supreme Verdict from Matt, so maybe he was looking to take him off double white. But if Matt had Supreme Verdict, he just would have cast it that turn. So it's a kind of a combination. I think Matt knew very well what he was doing there, trying to almost rep Cryptic Command, and unfortunately Mac's given him the opportunity. So he's going to
Cryptic Command the token back to his hand.
Yep. So now Mac is pretty much locked out of this game. He needs to find
well, he still has big monsters.
Yeah.
You're not locked out of the game as long as you've got 6/6s and
well, you know, big monsters
15s
big monsters take time to get there. It's
not that long with Tron deck.
Well, they take a long time now because that's Sowing Salt from Matt Light.
You know, that's the card Matt wanted to be seeing game 2.
Yeah. And this has just really blown up in Mac's face here. If he'd have not used that Ghost Quarter, Matt could not have come back into this game. Because that Sowing Salt has no effect. It just turns into alright, Mac ends up having to sacrifice his Ghost Quarter, but at least he doesn't remove any future chance of making Tron, and also that Batterskull ends up going all the way more than likely as well.
For those who don't understand, of course, you when you get Sowing Salted by your opponent, you Ghost Quarter your own land to stop yourself from losing all 4 copies. Now, once we add that into the fact that he also used the Ghost Quarter on his opponent, giving him the 3rd blue mana to be able to cast Cryptic Command, you know, it's sort of the error compounded itself into 2 separate sort of game-changing states here.
Yeah, and it's at this point. I also believe Matt currently has Mana Leak in hand as well, so it's just an awful situation now for Mac, and it just depends if Matt Light can get Mac's life total down from 23 now before Matt can recover and just go to 6 Wormcoil Engine or something along those lines.
Well, obviously Matt himself, I imagine maybe he's probably took the Snapcaster Mages out.
No,
kind
he had
of
them
close what to keep in and keep out, but if you assume your opponent's
he might take them out. He might just be on sort of the all burn all click plan, but
you can't really rely on them too much,
especially against a 4 relic deck. Like
4 relics is what I'm thinking of here. I mean, you might want to keep sort of one or two in.
Yep.
But at this point, I think the sideboard plan is just to shut your opponent down.
Yeah.
Rather than actually recurring your spells.
Yeah, because Mac's deck now is pretty much just a collection of baubles which do nothing and some 6/6s.
Like a lot of the spells that Matt's playing in sort of game 3 are just spells you want to play once.
Yeah.
You know, Sowing Salt's done its damage.
Yep, there's a Chromatic Star which doesn't do anything.
And there's a lot of that. And that's kind of one of the problems with Mac's deck now, is that all of these cards that would let him cycle and get through to his other lands are now sort of dead draws.
Yep, and Matt's just clicked him, seeing that the way is completely clear. And so Vendilion Click is going to begin the long, slow beatdown process. Cycle Shadow of Doubt.
And this was something that Matt talked about. I think it was like between rounds 4 and 5 that good players just would have beaten Matt in this situation. And a lot of people, they talk about how they're unlucky in PTQs, and they don't really look at what actually happened. People very often gloss over mistakes they make, and would just rather have this sort of nice little sound bite that their opponent like top decked the sowing salt to beat them, and that might be one of the things sort of Mac goes away feeling like how the tournament happened, and not realising sort of the play mistakes that led up to that.
Oh, Matt's actually used Shadow of Doubt to counter something. countered it with Sylvan Scrying. Countered his Sylvan Scrying with it. But yeah, I think you're exactly right.
Okay, yes, we know technically it didn't counter it.
Yeah, but I think that I think you're absolutely right. There does tend to be a lot of focusing on my opponent did this. It's like, well, did you give your opponent the opportunity to do that? And in this case, unfortunately, that is the case.
If you want to break down a game of Magic, the only question you should be asking yourself is how many play mistakes did I make? Like, whether you won or lost is completely irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't matter. What matters is did I play optimally, and that is always a question you need to be asking yourself. So anyway, Matt picks up the win 2-1 as the click gets ridden home, and we shall see you in the semi-final.